I have a love-hate for new construction in the Houston area. There are so many developers and master plan communities in the area, but when you are looking from a distance, this stuff can be really difficult to know which ones are good and which ones are not so good. Or when you finally visit, it's not what you expected at all when it comes to the area or the commute. So today, let's break down the three main types of new home neighborhoods and developments that you can find in the Houston suburbs. I'm going to tell you what's good about them, what's bad about them, and how to spot them for yourself. Hey, for those of you new, I'm Danielle. I'm a realtor in Northwest Houston. If you are moving to the Houston area and would like assistance, feel free to message me. The first one we're going to start with is the single builder developer. These developments or master plan communities will usually be one builder, max 3 builders in the community, and most of the time they are entry-level builders, occasionally mid-tier builders, but this is basically meaning that the houses are going to be affordable. But the interiors of these affordable homes will probably be very basic and minimal, and the community itself will be a lot smaller. There might be a pocket park and a playground, sometimes a pool, but overall, the development will usually be a little more basic in design. For example, in the front yards and in the community itself, there'll be fewer trees in the front yard, and the houses generally will look really, really uniformed. These types of developments and communities have one thing in mind, and that is affordability. If you're building with a single builder developer as of right now in 2024, you can probably get an average size home from the mid 300s to the upper 400s. All right, so the pros of this type of community is number one, obviously it's affordable. It's a great way to become a homeowner. These homes are great starter homes and just overall a really good value for what it is. The cons are higher turnover rates between investors buying these types of homes and first-time home buyers using it as a stepping stone. The turnover is usually really, really high, and the appreciation is at a slower rate than in some of the other types of communities we're going to talk about. And also, not always, but sometimes these neighborhoods are not as maintained as well over time because the HOA isn't as large and strong. So some examples of these types of communities here in the Houston suburbs would be ones like Katy Lakes, Camilo Lakes, Polo Ranch, Windsor. There's a ton here, especially in the Katy area and up in Montgomery County. You'll find a lot of single builder developments. So on the other end of the spectrum, we have the luxury mega master plan communities, and these are massive communities, usually thousands to 20,000 homes planned for the development. Basically, you are buying into the developer's plans and ideas over time. Usually, these ideas include things like schools and commercial conveniences, and these communities tend to have a lot more amenities and features within the community and common areas. Things like walking trails and pools and splash pads. In these types of communities, you're also going to have several builders to choose from. Usually there's anywhere from 6 to 25 builders in these types of communities. The pros of these luxury master plan communities is higher appreciation rates between the schools, the commercial, the conveniences. It makes it a very desirable place to live for a very, very long time. Second pro is you are more protected. They control a lot more of what will happen with the land around your home, increasing the value. The third pro, which is also kind of a con, is that there are a lot of rules. So things like fewer investors are allowed, which makes it a lower turnover. When people buy into these communities, they're typically looking for their forever home or a long-term home to raise a family or to build equity. So the turnover rate in these areas tend to be a little lower, which also drives up the demand. In these communities, the builders tend to be luxury to mid-tier, upper-tier builders. The cons is it's expensive. You definitely pay a premium for all these things within the community. If you are building in a mega luxury master plan community as of 2024, an average to larger size home will cost you anywhere from about $450 to $650 on average. Another con is that the plans for these communities can take a really long time. If you are buying in early, it can take years before you see any of the promises that the developer is making. Another con is that the promises and developers can change over the course of the development. It's not often, but sometimes they can change developers or change some of the amenities that were originally planned to something else. It's not usually a drastic change, but it can happen. And of course, the fourth con, which was also a pro, is that there's more rules. The HOAs tend to be a lot more strict within these communities. Examples of these mega luxury communities would be Bridgeland, Ellison, Wood Forest, Sienna, Cross Creek Ranch, which is also Cross Creek West now. All of these communities have major plans to be building for the next several years with a lot of things planned with it. And that brings me to my last type of development here in the Houston suburbs, and that is middle of the road communities. And they are just that. They're not a single entry-level developer, but they're also not a mega luxury going to be a town one day development. And a majority of the Houston master plan communities fall into this place, and we have hundreds of them. For these types of developments, it's usually 4 to 8 builders. They're usually middle to upper tier. There is a modest amount of community features and developments like splash pads and pools and parks and walking trails. And these communities typically take about 4 to 7 years to develop, so you're not waiting for 20 years to see the mall and everything else that they're promising. The pros of these types of community is that it's a good mix of pricing. You'll pay more than what you would for a single builder development, but you won't be paying the premium you pay for the mega master plan communities. If you are building in a middle of the road development, your price point will be anywhere from about $350 to $550. Another pro to the middle of the road communities is that they're usually zoned to reputable schools, and they still have the developer protection on what will be built close by to the home in the future. But the pro is that you also don't have to wait as long for the developments or amenities to come as you would for a mega master plan community. And the cons for these middle of the road developers are very similar to the mega master plan communities. The developer can change, plans can change. There's definitely more rules and HOAs than a single builder or a community without an HOA. Some examples of these types of communities are Harper's Preserve near the Woodlands, Cane Island in Katy, and there's Jubilee in Delrose and Hockley. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe as it helps the algorithm know this is good information. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.